with you.
I don't own the rights to this music, but I had to give a shout out to the Bay Area, Sacramento, um, the streets where I came from, because that's what it's about. That was Too Short, Be Legit, so international, and it brings back memories for me and my nephew. My nephew was a D-boy. Shout out to Nino. Nino No Nice, hitting hard, hitting heavy. Um, and we did what we had to do to survive. So this is Black Jewel now, recovery life coach, giving it to you raw, uncut, unfiltered, and that's how we do it. You know, I'm from the Valley of Sacramento, keeping it real, 10 toes down. I survived. So thank you, Elle, for always keeping it real with me.
Of course, and thank you, God.
Yes, give
Even
thanks. Give thanks.
and then really realistically in the spirit of Sankofa, because that's really what we're talking about.
Go back,
Really,
go back and get it.
come on. There is no other choice. It's the only way we know how to move forward, the only way we can really determine the best ways to move forward. And so before we even hopped into our session today, we had a really deep conversation. I wanted to kind of bring that back just a little bit. And again, just for y'all who are tuning in, who are just new to us, this is season three. And season three, we wanted to do something completely different than what we did season two and season one. In this season, we're talking about the moving forward, the forward progress, right? The Sankofa in its essence, the talking about the past, talking about the present, and talking about the future in relationship to recovery. And so we're going to pass it off to Miss Jewell and have her introduce for a little bit as we really dive into what it is that we feel like people need to hear, and even those who are still suffering to this day, what do we feel like they need to hear? So, Jewell, please take us away.
I think people need to hear and want to hear that there is a life to be had after recovery. For me, in my experience, once I got clean, I had to clean up the relationships. And that is still being cleaned up 20 years later. So it's not a one and done, oh, I'm clean and everything is great. It's okay, I'm clean. How do I live in recovery and thrive? So when I say thrive, at the end game, I end up in Africa. My
Mm,
children are grown. I got grandchildren. I've been injured on the job. Like, recovery is just what it is. You know, they call it life be life, and now that's the new, term. And I'll be like, shit, my life was life, and when life wasn't life, and actually, what is that? And so you can see here it says Miss Jewel Life, because I coined that several years back when I was in Oregon, and I was with my son, and one of my businesses was Life Jewel, selling T-shirts, no dick, no dope, no donuts, and that was a whole other thing too. But it's still a part of my recovery, because within no dick, no dope, no donuts, when I was working all the 12 steps, AANAOASA, because I love the weenie. My sister told me that. I'm sorry, but I told you because she was like, "I just can't leave the weenie alone." I know. I was like, "I like weenie too," and it's a part of relationships, you know. And I'm still laughing because that was a real conversation. But within working the steps, no dick, no dope, no donuts, was my first year in recovery, moving away from Sacramento and regaining my livability.
mm.
So they teach go to 90 meetings in 90 days and no sex for a year. Girl, you talking about shaking. That was the hardest year. because it was real for me and I wanted to regain my life. So I came from a Christian background. I went back to the Kingdom Hall and got reinstated. And if anybody know what a Jehovah's Witness is, they do disfellowship you. I was disfellowshipped. I got reinstated in October. So I moved there in June, got reinstated in October, and started to really communicate within the Christian dynamic, talking to people and being invited to their little functions. And I still was like, I'm good. I still had to find myself because I was putting myself in square pegs, right? And I didn't fit. And that's okay because that's a part of my recovery and my journey as well is my spirituality. And
Mm.
one thing that I know needs to be said, if you don't have no spirituality, you ain't got no recovery, you ain't got no life anyway, because spirit is a part of who you are that makes up your dynamic, your energy, and everything. So being connected to something higher and a higher power that's not yourself is a lot of how recovering addicts regain their livability, their life back. So when we talk about just getting reconnected and thriving in recovery, I am a witness, not a Jehovah's Witness, but a witness to it can be done because I've seen how my life has changed. One of the biggest things since I've been in Africa and studying under Dr. Rashan is sending meta. Now, I did go to a Buddhist SGI, Buddhism, before my in 2016. So I went from Jehovah's Witness to Buddhism, and I was still clean then, right? But the Jehovah's Witness was not enough. I needed something that I could identify with and not be disfellowship because I wanted some, have a relations, had to have some relations and not out in a box and not feeling guilty about it. So I went to Buddhism and they teach there is no God as karma.
Mm.
And when I reflected on all the karma, the bad karma that I had built up, it made me chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo even harder because I wanted to clear that. And what I appreciate about Buddhism is that they teach ancestral veneration. And that was one thing that I didn't get when my mother was taking me to the Kingdom Hall. I asked her, how come we don't, worship the ancestors? Because I lived in an Asian community. And that at 10 years old, I'll never forget that day. So I had an appreciation for Buddhism when I was a little girl. And so I was very happy and proud to be invited to engage in that tradition. And I kept it up for the most part. In Buddhism, I'm telling you, once you start chanting, it is a source of miracles and things do happen because I prayed and I got everything that I wanted. I got the job, the money I wanted, the husband, and I got it. But it's keeping it up, once you get it. So like they say, be careful what you ask for because you might get it. I got everything I wanted. But in the years past, it fell apart. Like my husband died of lung cancer after 7 months of marriage. So what do you do with that? You're talking about broken. I just wanted to get high. Like I could, I gave up on life and life's ideas. And it's really hard to see someone that you love come into your life robust, energetic, working, and then lifeless in the bed, staring up in the ceiling when I was with him when he took his last breath. And then I'm still recovering from that. So recovery takes a lot of different faces. It puts on a lot of different faces: death, relationships, sickness, shopping, gambling, not only dope, overeating, driving, stealing. Like we recover every day from something. We
Mm.
all have something to recover from because nothing is perfect in this world. But we could thrive. We could
Mm.
thrive in recovery. And they teach in the big book of AA, you have the monkey brain, the reptile brain, or the addict brain, right? That may be very much true, and yeah, I agree to it. But you can still thrive. The thinking gets better, the diet get better, the relationships get better, and then you can thrive. I'm not a millionaire, but I feel like it in my heart because I'm gonna live to the best of my ability. And that's what recovery gave me when I decided, I'm gonna just live for me. I could no longer live through my children or for my children.
Mm,
Not live in the loss of my husband dying, that I love very much. I couldn't live in my grandchildren, what, oh, okay, well, this one's gonna be this and this one's gonna be that, and I'm gonna make sure of it. It's like, Jewel, it's time for you to live for yourself. You had your child at 15, had your own apartment, running amok, doing this and that. And sometimes you can never satisfy a child because they come with conditions and unmet needs that you have nothing to give them. And me, I was a teenage parent. And when I had this conversation, and I reflected on my mom died when I was 14, I was pregnant, and I went and changed my social security number and got a welfare check. So I was able to go get my own apartment with my baby daddy. And then shortly after that, we go and we talk and we talk. And then was revealed that, I had a child and I was a child. And then I started selling dope in the sixth grade. And then by 18, after my daughter died, 19, I started using because she died and it broke me down, right? So I used. And some other things came up, a gang rape, before the pregnancy. So some other things that I never been able to deal with led to the drug abuse. So from selling dope and running amok and doing all kinds of stuff to using early in life, but I was using as a child with a child's brain. So no wonder I was being taken advantage of and being gullible because I hadn't developed my frontal lobes or the mental capacity to handle the weight that I was carrying. All I know is that niggas was wearing Nikes, Fila, bomber jackets, and the hat to match, and that's what my son had to have. I had to have my nails did and my hair did, and I was going to keep a car, right? So besides that, you was like, let me go flip this sack and do what I gotta do. And that was it. There was nothing else coming into my mind or into my world to really progress. And I loved history. I loved science. And I told my sister, had I been in a different environment, I wouldn't even have did though. If I was in
mm,
a different, it was the conditioning that I understand. We do become products in our environment, and we, some of us lace up our shoelaces. I didn't have no shoelaces.
mm,
I'm gonna put on these flip-flops and go do what I gotta do. If I gotta run in this grocery store and sell me some groceries for me and my kids, that's what I'm gonna do.
mm,
So there's all these different stereotypes and scenarios that really don't fit everybody. So we're not, it's about thriving.
mhm,
And how I begin to thrive is letting go of shame, letting go of blame, letting go of regret, letting go shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know, I went to diesel mechanics. I got my GED. Went My first degree was diesel mechanic because I love cars, right? And I love working with men. It's so much easier. It was an easy A. I was a 4.0 student. It was an easy A. Cause you know why? I'm the big homie. I know how to talk to people. And they was like, I'ma help you. Don't worry about it, Jewel. I passed that and I was so proud of myself, right? So proud of myself. So there's positive things that I have did that I've accomplished. And one is I am a certified recovery coach. That's dual certification. Very proud of myself because I lived the experience of a mother, a grandmother, a sister, on drugs, off of drugs, in the game, out of the game, respecting the game, And then like we could blow up, we could just we could recover, and we could still thrive and be happy. And now I'm in Africa. And that's the really the point of this. The gist is I made it.
Come on.
I
Thank you,
made
God.
it. I made
Thank
it.
you.
Let's give thanks. Be like,
Thank you.
I look back on the game that I mean, you talking about I was slicker than a can of oil.
Come on.
And it's like people that know me and they be like, Tiny in Africa? Well, what's she still doing in Africa? Be like,
That what
Tennessee.
is you still doing out there? Recovering.
Right, right, right. One of my street names, Tennessee Tiny don't hurt nobody. You got 10, come and see me. It's all about the body, right?
Thank
It's funny. So my daughter had called me. She was like, Mom, somebody on Facebook was like, is Tennessee your mom? I was like, no, don't tell them you know me. Don't tell them where I'm at. Like, no, because that was one of them. Like, no, I didn't. Ain't no telling what I did under Tennessee. Like, no, 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 no. And that's just life. But now I'm in Africa, so all the shame, blame, all the little slick ass shit that I used to do or did, I'm good. And I hurt a lot of people. And what's the downfall is that some of them relationships just won't mend. There's nothing you could do. There's nothing I could do to make it better. Sorry, don't do it. Right? I could buy you another PlayStation. That ain't gonna do it, because I did twice. Like, some shit just can't be, forgiven. And I understand that because I was hurting so much from some of the things that happened to me. So I get it, but I can still thrive. I can
Mm,
still thrive. And thriving is connecting to spirit. And one thing that I learned under the Buddhist tradition is sending metta. I love to send metta. Sending metta is sending love and light. Sending metta is sending life. Sending metta is, I love the essence off of the breath when I say metta. I'm going to send metta. I'm not going to pray for you. I'm going to send metta. I'm going to send you love and cover your whole body with light from the ethers. And that's
mm,
what I do for people. I go to the ocean, I name the names, I call on my ancestors, and I send metta, I send love. And that allows me to still have the heart space to love my niggas, to love my babies, to love the big homies, the OGs, you and me. I love myself. And I'm thriving in Africa. I ain't rich, but damn sure I'm proud.
come on. Talk about it. And I love how you talk about your journey in relationship to spirituality. You said something very profound. I've just been writing down quotes in the background to the weekend. It's kind of moving us into the different direction as we're heading into this season. But um a part of this journey, you said a part of my journey in recovery is spirituality. That they're basically interlocked, they're connected. One can't happen without the other because you have to see something higher than yourself to regain your life back. That's what you said. And I thought it
Yes.
was so profound as you were talking about, just getting to the place of thriving, and that thriving being connected to spirit, and that spirit being that higher sense of self, uh, and that awareness of self, so much so that you can send metta, that you can send love, that you can send light, that you can send peace. And I think what's important, and I think what you talked about, wanting to talk about, especially during this season, is it what does it mean to get to that place of thriving, to get to that place of sending meta, to get to that place of connecting with spirit? How does that, intersect with one of the quotes that you said before we got on this podcast call was we are only as sick as our secrets. And so, what does it mean to let go of the shame and the regret of holding those secrets that have kept us sick, so sick that we could not thrive, nor could we regain our life or our livability? What does that look like? How do we get to that? How do we connect that to the spirituality piece? And not just spirituality and then thinking of it in relationship to religion, but spirituality in relationship to the deep healing that is necessary for us to something you said, let me find it. there are some things that you weren't able to deal with. I thought that was so profound. That it was the conditioning. And see, we've reached our time, and I can't wait for us to get to episode 2. Um, but I wanted to leave that little bit of piece of what I heard from you today, and just give thanks for this introduction to this new season, which I'm so excited about, and I can hear the excitement in your voice as well. And just it's a reflection of where you are in your journey, and just being, I hear you I hear you reflecting a lot deeper about you being in Africa. That's a huge thing. I don't think we've ever had this conversation. Like, we've had this conversation touch and go,
Mhm.
but like not to the depth of like, yo, you're in Africa. That is a part of the recovery. You
That
are in the thriving of it. You're thriving, literally. And so how do we have this conversation for those who are, you know, just at the cusp of suffering, those who are in the midst of suffering, those who have gone beyond into the thriving. And so thank you so much, Miss Jewell. As we talk about life and we talk about breathing life, I definitely feel like this season is going to breathe so much life.
Well, I look forward to part 2 and further discussing overcoming in spirituality, what it looks like. This is Life with Miss Jewell. We out. I don't own the rights to this music.